dear. Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. I don't know if there'll be snow, but have a cup of cheer. Have a holly jolly Christmas. And when you walk down the street, say hello to friends you know and everyone you meet. Oh, oh, the mistletoe hung where you can see. Somebody waits for you, is there once for me. Have a holly jolly Christmas, and in case you didn't hear. Oh, by golly, have a holly jolly Christmas this year.
Marley, bless his heart, was dead to begin with.
Bob Marley?
No, Jacob Marley, you dim-witted, ignorant, lowlife.
As I was saying, Jacob Marley was dead to begin with.
There's no doubt about that whatsoever.
The death certificate was signed by Brother Dale.
You know, the pastor down yonder at the First Baptist Church.
The undertaker at Eternal Rest Funeral Home and Dr. Randall Ross.
And Scrooge signed it too.
Yes, yes he did. And Mr. Scrooge's name was as good as gold on anything he put it on.
Old man Marley. He was dead as a doornail. You know, when you think about it, I don't know what there is that's really dead about a doornail.
I know. I think I might have said it dead as a coffin nail. Well, you know, because of the coffin and all.
But dead as a doornail is just the same.
Actually, it's a simile.
Whatever.
Now, if you will allow me to repeat.
Emphatically.
All right, emphatically. Old man Marley is as dead as a doornail. Yes?
Old Scrooge knew he was dead, right?
Well, of course he did.
How can he not know?
Scrooge and Marley, they were partners for...
What are you looking at me for? How can I know I'm your wife?
It don't really matter. No, thank you. Scrooge was the executor of Marley's will.
the only administrator of his estate.
Scrooge was his only friend.
And old Marley's only mourner.
But you know, even Scrooge was not so upset by it that it kept him from doing any business on the very day of old Marley's funeral.
Speaking of Marley's funeral, we need to get back to where we started from.
That old Marley is dead, right?
Yes, old Marley is dead. Now that must be clearly understood.
Otherwise, nothing good can come of the story we're going to tell y'all.
Yes, ma'am. So, where were we?
The sign.
Oh, yeah, the sign. Scrooge never painted out old man Marley's name on the sign.
Right there it is. After all these years, we Scrooge and Marley.
Scrooge is a tight-fisted sheep employer.
A squeeze.
Retching.
Grasping.
Clutching.
Covetous old sick.
Hallelujah!
Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever.
Stop that. Act like y'all got some sense.
Sorry.
The man is hard to work for, but he's sharp as a razor.
Secretive and independent, and as solitary as a crawdad.
He carries around with him his own cold nature.
His presence freezes his office in the dog days of summer, and he don't warm it up 1 degree at Christmas time.
Nobody would ever stop him in the streets to say, "Howdy, Mrs. Scrooge, how you doing?"
Why don't you come by for a visit?
But would old Scrooge care if they did or not?
It was just the way he liked it.
To skirt around the crowded streets of life, letting everyone know to keep their distance.
Once upon a time, of all the days of year, on Christmas Eve,
Scrooge sat there in his office, as busy as a bee.
It was cold weather,
very light all day.
Scrooge kept his thermostat on about 59.
But Bob couldn't do anything about it because the thermostat was in Scrooge's office.
And whenever he tried to change it, Scrooge would threaten to fire him.
So he just put his long white scarf over the sweater his wife knitted him.
And tried to warm himself from the heat coming off his computer fan.
However, not being a man of strong imagination,
He failed.
Merry Christmas, Uncle, and God bless you.
Ah, humbug.
Christmas a humbug, Uncle? I'm sure you don't mean that.
Yes, I do. Merry Christmas. Tell me what right you have to be married. For that matter, what reason you have to be married. Or enough.
All right, then. What right do you have to be so grouchy? What reason do you have to be so ill-tempered? You're rich enough.
Bah, humbug.
Oh, don't be that way, Uncle.
Well, how do you expect me to be when I live in a world of idiots like you? To hell with Merry Christmas. I'll tell you what Christmas is. It's spending money that you don't have on things that you don't need and buying gifts for people that you don't even care about. It's if you're a year older, but not a penny richer. It's a time for looking back at all the things you've done and having all your mistakes staring you right in the face. Let me tell you what. If I could have things my way, any idiot that went around saying Merry Christmas should be boiled with his deep-fried turkey and stabbed in the heart with his tree topper. You heard me.
Dang, Uncle.
Dang, nephew. Look here, boy. You keep Christmas the way you want, and I'll keep Christmas the way I want.
Keep it. What the? But you don't keep it.
You got it. So let me leave it alone then. For all the good it'll do you. For all the good it's ever done you.
I've done a lot of good things in my life, and not all of them have to make you a profit, and that includes Christmas. I always think of Christmas time when it comes around, and not just because of its religious connection, if you can really separate that part of it, as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, and pleasant time. You know, it's the only time that I know of all year long when men and women seem to open their hearts up willingly and think of people less fortunate than them, as if they really were equal passengers to the grave, and not some other race of creatures off on a different journey. So, Uncle, although Christmas has never put a penny in my pocket, I do believe that it has done me good, and I believe it will do me good. So I say, God bless it.
Cratchit, you let me hear one more sound from you, and you'll be celebrating Christmas from the unemployment line. Nephew, you're a very powerful speaker. I think you should go into politics.
Don't be mean, Uncle. Come on over and have dinner with us tomorrow.
I'll see you in hell first.
Why would you say that?
Why would you get married?
What? Well, I guess it's because I fell in love.
Love? That is the only thing more ridiculous than a Merry Christmas. Now, good afternoon.
Now hold on, Uncle. Hold on just one darn minute. Now you never came to see me before I got married. Why would you give it as a reason now for not coming?
Good afternoon.
I don't want nothing from you. I'm not asking you to give me anything. I just want to be friends.
Good afternoon, nephew.
I'm sorry. With all my heart. I'm sorry to find you so stubborn. Me and you have never had any disagreement that I can remember. So I tell you what. I've come here today to honor Christmas. And I'm going to keep my Christmas spirit no matter what. So Merry Christmas.
Get out!
Oh yeah, and Happy New Year too.
Beat it!
Merry Christmas, Bob. And Happy New Year if I don't see you before then.
Thank you, Fred. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and yours as well.
There's another moron, my fine employee, Bob Cratchit, making $500 a week, has a wife and children. He's talking about having a Merry Christmas. Wait, $500 a week? I need to check into that.
Is this Scrooge Marley? Yes, sir. Come on in.
Are you Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Not so neither. Mr. Scrooge is right over there. Mr. Marley.
Mr. Marley has been dead for 7 years now. In fact, he's been dead 7 years today.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about that, Mr. Scrooge. Nevertheless, we've got no doubt his generosity survives in his party.
At this festive time of year, Mr. Scrooge,
It is usually customary that we try to make some small accommodations for the homeless and poor. We suffer so much, particularly at this time of year. There are thousands of people who just basic and hundreds of thousands who need common comfort.
Are there no prisons?
Yes, sir, plenty of those.
And the homeless shelters, are they still open?
Yes, sir, doing good work. Although, I wish I could say there was no need for them at all.
The welfare and employment programs are still sending out checks each month?
Yes, sir, both are very busy.
Well, good. I thought for a minute there, from what you just said, that something had happened, and these institutions were no longer functioning.
Yes, sir, but of course you must realize that these programs scarcely provide any help here for the mind or body of those in need. Because of that, there are a few of us working to raise the funds, help the poor buy the groceries, help the high heat bills. We choose this time of year more than any other time of the year because people do seem to be in need. And those who aren't are generous with their contributions. So how much can I put you down for?
Nothing.
I don't understand. Oh, you want to be anonymous?
No. What I want to be is left alone. I don't celebrate Christmas and have no desire to help other people celebrate it. I pay taxes, and my taxes help support the institutions I mentioned earlier. And let me tell you what, they cost plenty. So anyone who's bad off can look to them for help instead of me.
But Mr. Scrooge, these programs, they're way too expensive for these people. A lot of them don't qualify to go there to get help. And honestly, they'd rather die than take a government handout.
Well, I guess if they would rather die, then they should go ahead and get to it. And then that would decrease the excess population.
How could you be so cold?
It's not my business, is it? Isn't it enough for a man to take care of his own business and then not to get involved in other people's? My business takes up all of my time. Now, good afternoon, gentlemen. And don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Seeing clearly that it would be pointless to stay and argue their point, the gentleman left.
The Scrooge went back to work with an improved opinion of himself.
Meanwhile, it got darker and foggier.
The old church tower, whose dreadful bell was always looking down disapprovingly at Scrooge from its Gothic window in the wall, became invisible in the fog.
Striking the hours in the quarters up in the clouds, with tremendous vibrations after, as though it had teeth that were chattering up there in its frozen skull.
The young owner of a red nose, shivering in the cold, stopped on Scrooge's doorstep to see the Christmas tree, hoping for a handout.
Scrooge was so angry he grabbed the broom and bolted toward the door. The boy, seeing him with the broom, ran away in terror, leaving at the door just the fog and the icy frost.
At last, the time for closing up the office had arrived.
With an ill temper, Scrooge half-heartedly admitted the time involved and began to put his own nest in order.
He instantly did the same and put on his hat.
Well, I guess if you want all day off tomorrow again.
Yes, sir, Mr. Scrooge. That's not a problem, sir.
Same thing every year, isn't it, Cratchit? And every year is just as inconvenient as last year. But I give in and let you have the whole day off. But you know what? It just isn't fair to me. I bet you, if I was to dock you a day's pay for it, you'd think you're being unfairly treated, wouldn't you? But you don't think it's unfair to me when I pay you for a day you don't even work?
Mr. Scrooge, it's only once a year, sir.
Don't give me that. That's just an excuse for you to use to pick my pocket every December the 26th. I guess I'm going to give it again this year. Let you have the whole day off. Do you have to have the whole day? You're killing me, Cratchit. You're just killing me. Fine, dang it. Take the whole day. But you listen here. You be here, at work, on time, the 26th. You hear?
Yes, sir, Mr. Scrooge. I will. I promise I will. And Scrooge walked out with a cry.
The office was closed in an instant, and Bob, the long ends of his white scarf hanging below his waist,
Because he didn't have no overcoat.
he went down a slide on a nearby hill several times with about 20 boys.
Because he was so happy it was Christmas Eve.
Then he ran home as fast as he could go to be with his wife and children.
Scrooge took his same old melancholy dinner in the same old melancholy tavern.
And having read through all the newspapers, and wasted the rest of his evening balancing his checkbooks, Scrooge went home to bed.
He lived in a building that had once belonged to his dead partner, Jacob Marley.
It was a gloomy collection of rooms, and bleak enough.
Because no one lived there but Scrooge.
All the other rooms had been rented out as offices and such.
The yard was dark. So dark that Scrooge, even though he knew every one of its stones, was forced to feel his way along with his hands.
Now it is a fact that there was nothing at all in particular about the knocker on the door, except that it was very large.
It is also a fact that Scrooge had seen that knocker every morning and evening, every day since he first moved in there.
And that he had as about as little imagination as any man in the city of London.
Let us also rest assured that Scrooge had not given one thought to old Marley.
Not since his name was last mentioned earlier that afternoon.
So let anyone explain to me how it was that Scrooge,
With his key in the lock of the door, saw the knocker.
Without it undergoing any intermediate change, not a knocker,
But
Marley's face.
The face wasn't angry, but it looked at Scrooge just like old Marley used to look.
the hair was all tossed around, like it was floating underwater.
As Scrooge was studying the spectacle, it became a knocker again.
I'd be lying if I said he wasn't startled.
But Scrooge, with his key in the lock,
Turned it abruptly,
opened the door,
stepped in.
And turned on the lamp.
He did pause, just for a second.
and he did look carefully behind the door at first.
As if he half expected to be startled with the sight of the back of Marley's head sticking out into the hall.
But there was nothing on the back of the door.
Bah! Humbug!
He slammed the door with a loud bang.
The sound echoed through the house like thunder.
Every room above, and even the barrels in the wine merchant cellar below, seemed to have a separate peal of echoes all of its own.
But Scrooge is not a man to be frightened by echoes.
So, he fastened the door, turned off the lamp, walked across the entrance hall, and started up the stairs, slowly.
Up Scrooge went. Scrooge was not afraid of the darkness, because darkness is cheap, and that Scrooge liked.
But before he shut his bedroom door, he did check all his other rooms just to make sure they were all right. He had enough memory of that face on the door to want to do that.
Once he was satisfied, he closed the door and locked himself in.
The fireplace was an old one, built long ago.
There were tiles meant to illustrate the Bible to distract Scrooge's attention.
But it was that face of Marley, dead for 7 years, that came back to his memory.
If each one of those tiles had been blank to start with, and somehow had the power to create an image on itself from the mixed up pieces inside of Scrooge's brain,
Then there would have been a face of Marley on every single one of them.
Ah! Humbug.
As Scrooge lay back in his chair, his eyes happened to rest upon a bell.
It was an unused bell that had hung in the room for a long time. Its use was long forgotten.
Perhaps once it was used to communicate with other rooms in the building.
It was with a strange fear that as he looked at the bells, he saw them start to swing.
The bell stopped just as they had begun, all together,
The bells were followed by a clanking noise, way down below.
as if someone were dragging a heavy chain over the barrels in the wine merchant's cellar.
It was on the floors below. Then it was coming up the stairs. Then it was coming right towards Scrooge's bedroom door.
It's humbug still. I won't believe it. Stay right there. What do you want with me?
A whole lot.
First, tell me, who are you?
Or ask me who I was.
All right then, darn it, who was you? Who were you? You know, you're kind of picky for a ghost.
In my life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. Don't you remember?
Of course I remember. Well, Jacob, can you have a seat?
Just as adamant as he ever was.
All right then, well, do it.
Son, you don't believe in me, do you?
I guess, no. Not really, no. No.
You can see me, can't you? What other proof that I exist than you want than that?
I don't know.
Then why don't you just believe with your eyes?
Well, because there are a lot of little things that can have an effect on that. I'm not too sure about that dinner I just had. My stomach just don't feel quite right.
You also had a little bit to drink, didn't you?
Well, yeah, that too, I guess. But I think you just might be an undigested piece of bread, a blob of mustard, a moldy piece of cheese, an underdone chunk of poultry. Yeah, that's it. There's more gas than grave about you. Whatever you really are.
Ah!
Mercy, Lord, have mercy! What is it you want with me? Why are you haunting me?
Man of little faith! Choose! Do you believe in me or not?
All right, I do. Yes, I do. I guess I have to. But you spiritually walk the earth? Why in the world would one be visiting me?
There are things that are required of everyone during their life. You have to choose to walk out among the people, sharing and helping whenever you can and wherever there is need. But if you choose to ignore these people and their needs as you walk through life, then your spirit will be condemned to make that walk after death. You will be doomed to wander throughout the world, seeing and knowing what you could have done, what you could have shared in life, by giving happiness instead of sorrow.
Jacob, why are you wearing all those chains?
The chains? Yes, the chains. I made these chains during my life. Every link is an act of apathy, selfishness, greed, hatred, prejudice, and any act that hurt my fellow man. Every link and every yard are formed by my actions, my choices to ignore or injure those in need. Look close at my chain underneath. Because this is what your chain looked like 7 years ago. But it don't look like this no more. No, sir. You've been working hard on that chain of yours these past 7 years. And let me tell you, It is an enormous chain.
Jacob, oh Jacob Marley, please say something good to me. Don't you have anything comforting to say?
Comfort? You just don't get it, do you? I don't come from a place that offers comfort. You're thinking of that other place and those other spirits, and I am not one of them. And you are not the kind of person they visit. So I can't offer you any comfort, Scrooge. I've only been given a little time to visit with you. See, I'm not allowed to rest, or visit, or just hang around anywhere. All I cared about in life was making money, and I never tried to help people. You need to listen close to what I have to say. Because I didn't help people. Because all I wanted from them was their money. I have been condemned. And there are many, many long journeys that are still ahead of me.
I see, Jacob, I see. But in your traveling, you must have been very slow going about it.
Slow?
I mean, yeah. You've been dead for 7 years. And you say you've been traveling all that time?
Yes. The whole time. I don't get any rest, any peace. Just the constant torture of regret.
Have you traveled fast?
On the wings of the wind.
Well, then I would guess that you would have covered a whole lot of ground in those 7 years.
Fool! I am a captive! I am shackled! You are not listening to me! For any person not to know that any Christian spirit working kindly during its life, even in its small place in the world, wherever it may be, whatever they may do, they will find that their mortal life is far too short for the endless chances to help others. Not to know that any space of regret can make right the misuse of one of those opportunities. Yet that was me. That was how I chose to live my life.
But Jacob, you always were a good businessman.
Business? Mankind should have been my business. The welfare of others should have been my business. Charity, mercy, patience, generosity, those should have been my true business. What I did to earn a living was nothing but a drop of water on the all-inclusive ocean of my business. It is at this time of year I suffer the most. Tell me, why did I choose to walk the crowds of my fellow beings, with my eyes looking down, never once look up to see that same blessed star that led a wise man to a poor stable? Were there no poor homes that its light could have led me to? Oh. Hurry, my time is just about up.
I will, Jacob, but don't be harsh with me. Please, speak plainly to me, Jacob.
I can't explain to you how it is that you can see me now. All I know is that I've been sitting invisible beside you for so many days. That right there has been some of the hardest part of my punishment. But tonight, Ebenezer, I've been allowed to come to warn you, to tell you that you have a chance and hope of escaping what has happened to me. It is a chance, and I hope I worked hard to get it for you.
I thank you for that, Jacob. You always were a good friend.
You're going to be haunted tonight by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance and the hope you just mentioned?
Yes, sir, it is.
Well, Jacob, this is just a suggestion, but I think I might just take a pass on that.
You ignorant, ungrateful fool! Without their visits, you have no chance of avoiding the path that I'm walking right now. You see me, right? Is this what you want? All right, then. You can expect the first spirit tomorrow night at the first stroke of 1.
Well, Jacob, here's a thought, just a suggestion.
Why don't I just have them all over here at once, and then I can be done with it?
You can expect the first and the second spirit tomorrow at the exact same time. And the third on the night after, at the last strike of 12. You're not going to see me anymore, Ebenezer. But for your sake, for your own sake, you remember what happened to me.
Then Marley's ghost walked backward from him.
And with every step it took, the window opened